Welcome to Hey Sister. This is episode 52, Cozy Homes. Hey sister.
Hey sister.
Join me, Courtney Lewis.
And me, Carly Ferguson.
In our conversational podcast about everyday situations.
You can count on us to tell it to you straight with our own sisterly spin.
Consider this a phone call with your own Southern sisters as we discuss with you personal accountability, healthy relationships, managing responsibilities, and contributing to society.
Each episode will consist of straight talk and a call to action.
Your sisters are calling.
Thanks for answering.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hey Sister. This is Courtney, and Carly and I are happy y'all are joining us for our continuation of our Feel Good Fall series. Isn't it ironic right now that as temperatures start to drop and leaves fall and nature seems to settle down, mankind tends to pick up the pace as we ready ourselves for the holiday season? This dichotomy of the relaxed nature outside and the frenzied feelings we might feel inside is the inspiration behind our fall series, because we all want to feel peaceful, right? We are loving learning from our experts thus far in episodes 50 and 51 as we talked about family photos and mental health. And we have other incredible guests lined up who are teaching us intentional practices we can incorporate so we can feel our emotional best this fall. Before I turn the time over to my sister Carly to introduce today's guest expert, we invite y'all to check out our show notes for any resources or social media links we mentioned today. A minute marker timeline in case you want to re-listen to any portions, and as always, a reminder of the call to action we will issue towards the end of today's episode. Now, Carly, take it away, sister.
Okay, so we have had the pleasure of having several Courtneys on our show as guests. So in a younger sister kind of way, I'm excited to even up the score a bit with another Carly. Joking aside, Courtney and my process for coming up with a theme like this month's Feel Good Fall can sprout from a topic that we feel would be impactful for us and our friends, or someone we have been wanting to meet and pick their brains. Today, we have Carly Thornock, who we felt checked off both those reasons. I bought her book, Intentional House, when I was feeling less than in love with where I was living at the time. Her book and all of her content she provides through emails, Instagram, and her course, The Home Love Lab, help us get a grip on our home and how we can love the function and feel of our space. As a house love coach, she can help you turn your home into an electrifying love story. I am so excited for her to share her sage sense in creating home delight. With that, Carly, welcome to Hey Sister.
Hey, sisters. You guys, I don't have any real sisters. This is such a pleasure.
Yay! I mean, not yay that you don't have real sisters, but yay, we're so excited.
Now you do.
Now you do.
Yes, you are part of our sisterhood. We're so glad you're here.
Glad to be here, you guys. Thanks for having me.
So please tell us more about yourself, Carly.
Currently, I live in the West Desert of Utah. We are an hour away from the closest gas station. We're off the grid. We're building our house out of the very earth that we live on. And we live a quite crunchy lifestyle. I emailed Courtney. I was like, here I come. Can't wait to get together on the podcast. I got to go find out where my mascara is. And it was literally true. I was like, maybe I should put on some makeup for this great occasion, because we live the ranch life. I have 3 little boys. They are 9, 7, and 5 right now. And they spend most of their time digging in the dirt and stealing my husband's tools, which is really fun. We do the homeschool thing, and it's been really fun to reinvent home for ourselves, because we definitely grew up in suburbia, and to do this from scratch together. Professionally, I'm a relationship coach and a home designer, and I just want everybody to have a love affair with their houses, to feel like their house is telling them back the story that they want to hear all the time, because we are in our houses a lot. And if that story isn't one we want to listen to, then let's make them align a little bit better.
I just love that all so much. And I know we have some questions today to talk to you about how to make our homes a feel-good fall space. But I have to say, just speaking of making our homes have that story that you were just talking about, there was a post that you did on Instagram not very long ago about how your home is the ultimate inside joke. And that was the post that I needed to inspire me to do something in my home that literally has made me laugh every single day since. And I'm going to share what it is, and it's a little embarrassing, but we have had a golden snitch clock that one of my husband's coworkers gave him for his birthday 2 years ago, because she heard that he liked Harry Potter. And so she gave him this golden snitch that actually opens and it has a clock on the inside. And he was always like, what am I going to do with this? And so we kept it upstairs in a game room, away on a kid's bookshelf on the very top of the bookshelf. Nobody could see it because it was out of place. It didn't have a place. But I decided when I heard that my home can be an ultimate inside joke, I took that snitch and I brought it downstairs and I put it on a shelf in our dining room. And it sits there. And it just makes me laugh because I'm sitting directly across from it when we eat dinner every night. And I stare at that snitch and I laugh in my head every day just because I think there's a snitch in my dining room. Anyway, so I'm very thankful for the inspiration that you give for even small little things like that. I am excited to learn more about cozying up our homes. But I do want to say just little shout out for your Instagram and how fun those kind of little tidbits are that inspire you in those small ways that just speak to your soul.
I love hearing that. I'm so glad. Sometimes dinner needs a little bit of a laugh, don't you think? At least to you. If your house isn't making you chuckle, then what are you living for?
So true. Because sometimes you're like, ah, but like a real laugh.
Like, oh, fun. You're just putting your peas on the ground again. Awesome.
Yeah.
All the mashed potatoes under the table.
Yeah.
Fun. But you can get through in a good spirit.
It's not like the butt of the joke. It's a good joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke.
Okay. So Carly, what does feel good fall mean to you as a house love coach?
I loved thinking about this. For me, fall is that invitation, like you said, Courtney, earlier, of resetting and quieting down. And I'm naturally a yellow personality, which is all about fun. I'm always like, what's fun and loud and let's go, let's go. And fall to me is this deliberate invitation to breathe and take a second and just watch. And I think that nature gets our attention with all of the colors and with all of the changes and the cooler weather. It's almost like nature is quiet, but also loud. It makes me pay attention. So to feel good in the fall, I feel the invitation to match nature. And that's what feels good to me. But also in the change of the seasons, the invitation that we all can embrace, whether that means slowing down or speeding up, depending on what feels good to you. It's just an invitation to assess, to get intentional. And I feel like fall is just that perfect time to take a second and set your goals for the last 3 months of the year. And whatever that might be, get into it and execute on a level that feels good.
Very well said. I love that. So what are a few steps or ideas that we can intentionally take to feel good then in our homes this fall?
So as I was thinking about this, 3 things really came to mind. I think that we have cognitive ideas of what feels good, but a lot of times we're disconnected from our bodies. And we don't know what actually feels good in our bodies because we don't pay attention. So the first thing that I think we need to do is to breathe and sit still. So this can be for 5 minutes. It's going to feel like the longest 5 minutes of your life. But when you sit and you're still for a small amount of time, you could go up to 30 minutes, whatever feels good to you or whatever doesn't feel good to you. Kind of push that boundary a little bit, like it's going to feel fine to sit down for 30 seconds and then your brain's going to start firing. So push yourself a little bit to be still and to listen to your body and ask yourself questions of what actually feels good to me? What's actually going on in my body? And does that feel good? Am I hungry? Is this chair hard? Do I need a massage? Am I tired? What's going on with my body? Get back in tune so you can actually know what feels good to you. What we think feels good and what actually feels good sometimes are 2 separate things. So we want to sync them up. And the way we do this is through being quiet and listening. So that's the first thing I think we should do. The second thing is we can use our senses to connect. And our senses are really great because they're connected to our bodies, obviously. And when we're connected to our bodies, we can see what feels good. So it incorporates step number 1. But when we use our senses, it's so connected to our houses. So when we're in our houses, there are things that you eat, there are things that you smell, there are things that you see, there are things that you touch. And there's all these ways that we can interact with our homes, with the environment around us. And this even extends outside to our communities or outside into nature. And we can use our senses to feel good. Sometimes we say something is sensual because it uses all of our senses and that kind of feels good. And sometimes it's gone a little on the erotic side and that's not what we mean. What we mean is just find something that feels at home to your body, feels like loving to yourself in a wonderful way that uses your senses. So use your senses. And then the third thing is a little mantra that I have that I want to invite you all to participate in this fall with me. And it is fun or it doesn't happen. So as you are thinking ahead to your holiday traditions, we have October, we have November, we have December. There's lots of things happening, and we all have roles and hats and expectations that come from the conditioning that we've been brought up with for the goals that we've had for ourselves in the past. But if we look at them with new eyes, and if the rule is this is fun or it doesn't happen, what would happen? Would you still do the same things that are on your list, or would you choose differently for yourself because you actually really don't like giving 45 neighbors a stupid thing of wrapping paper with like a little poem on it, and you just don't like that? There's some people who love that, and there are some people who don't. So just do what feels good to you and decide fun or it doesn't happen. And when we're committed to this to ourselves, not only are we more integrated with the fun and with the feel good in our hearts, but we're able to project and radiate feel goodness to our families and to our neighbors. And then that makes the stress frenzy settle, and we can enjoy ourselves. And that's when the holidays come alive with this love and wonder that we all really want, but somehow the stress suffocates.
It does, yeah.
So fun or it doesn't happen. That's the third thing I thought of.
I love all of those things. I think that first point of our bodies and like getting in sync with how we feel, so much of the intentionality and like reading through, it was like looking at those rules or those things that we've put in place as like the metrics of what is considered a good home and what is floating through our mind. And we're assessing everything to that, reframing those to what actually matters to us. So it's not just being like, oh man, you are just hitting every single nail on the head. It's like, no, you're just choosing which nails you really want to. And it does start from like feeling good within your own body, because we know that our bodies house our spirits and who we are. And so the more we can be connected with that, then we can project that better. And it's hard. And you said you have 3 boys. I also have 3 boys, though they're young. My oldest is 4, and then it's 2, and it's 1.
That's like mine.
Yeah. The book came at like a good point, because I felt like I was reading it and there were manageable things that I could pull and put into place, because it felt like they were just trying to disrupt.
They do. That's their job.
Like what matters to me does not matter to them. And we felt very crammed, and having the textures and like the things around me that represented something that I loved, or like a person, like that joke, those things that mattered. This was given to me by a friend. And so, yes, I'm going to put that out and I'm going to see that. And just that connection to how it's displayed, how it's done, instead of it just always being like, this isn't maybe what I would consider be fun or good, but I should do it. So I love that. And yeah, who doesn't want to have fun? And if our homes can't also facilitate fun, then it really makes it stressful.
Man, we've all been in stressful homes. We've all had stress in our own homes. But the stress is the thing. The energy is more potent than anything you could ever decorate in your house. I've been in homes that are beautifully decorated and perfectly coiffed, and it's felt so stressful. I've also been in clean homes that have felt really relaxing. I've been in dirty homes that have felt stressful, and I've been in crazy, chaotic homes, like as far as clutter goes, that feel really happy and positive and refreshing. So the things in our houses only serve to enhance the energy that we are emitting. And I wrote that book, Intentional House by Month, actually when my kids were about your kids' age. And I wrote it in tiny chunks for the mom who needed just like a tiny little moment of sanity amidst the chaos, because life with kids is chaos. I loved how you said, we have these shoulds, is what I call them, on a board, these little nails that we need to hit on the head, every single one. And the nails represent things that we were taught when we were young, or that our culture teaches, or our religion, or our friends down the street, or things that we've invented, all of these little nails. And we think, great, it's holiday season and we got to do all the nails. And I want us to get a new board with new nails that are a little bit sparkly. Maybe they're thumbtacks that you can see through. Like maybe there's something that's not even nails. Maybe they're magnets. And I want us to just choose the ones that we want that work for us this year, not for forever, not for even 5 years, just for this year. What feels good for me right now when I have 3 little boys, 4 and under? Is it a big tree? Is it lights? Is it the wrapping paper with the hand-picked pine needles tied up in a bow? Is it simple? Is it complex? Is it beautiful? what makes my heart sing, and that's the nail that I'll commit to putting on the board and hitting on the head. Sometimes that's simplifying, and some moms think that it's all too overwhelming and they can't do anything, and they feel really stuck in that way. So maybe to some moms, it's like, get the nail up there, girl, like hit it. And other moms, it's like, take all those down. No pressure here. So whatever it is for you, both you beautiful sisters and your listeners, with the upcoming holidays, whatever feels good to you, do it. Do it.
I'm just loving everything you're sharing. As you were talking about breathing and that first step, I just was thinking about that connection, really, the way that you're describing it. I'm just picturing the heart and mind and really getting those in sync. And like Carly mentioned, your spirit. As we're talking about that, the thought I just keep thinking is what a blessing it is to be a homemaker, to be the mother in my home, and to get to make those decisions, or to get to coordinate decisions for the holidays with my family. And it incorporates my children a lot of the times. And as Carly's talking about her kids, as my sister Carly is talking about her kids trying to deliberately destroy everything, it's funny because I've had some children who do choose to destroy things. I have another child who chooses to redecorate everything that I set out. And so I'll set up all of my collection of nutcrackers. Carly and I grew up in a home where our mom had dozens, if not even close to 100 nutcrackers.
It was an army. Or it is an army of nutcrackers.
Yes.
Of various backgrounds and I don't know.
Oh, yes.
Professions.
Sizes galore. Anyways, so it was something that we grew up with. And honestly, putting the nutcrackers up every year was my favorite thing to do as a kid. That was one of my main jobs, was to do the nutcracker display going down this staircase that we had growing up. And so when our parents gave us nutcrackers, I think my dad stumbled upon some estate sale of hundreds of nutcrackers. So every sibling in our family got nutcrackers. And you should have seen when my parents gave us this tote box. They opened it on Christmas morning. We were all there for the holidays like a few years ago. And all of us got to go through one by one and pick the nutcrackers we wanted for our own home collections. And it's just been so funny because I love my nutcracker collection and we display it, and I will set them up in certain places. And my son, who is 7, will go through, and this has been happening since he was 5, actually. He would go through and move the nutcracker to where he thought it should be, or adjust it so that it was at a 90-degree angle. And so it's funny to see how kids do react. And I have currently a 2-year-old who does try to destroy everything, but my 7-year-old wants to fix everything. He thinks I've done it incorrectly. And so he'll adjust it, or he'll be like, oh, last year we had that nutcracker in this room, so let's move that back over here. And anyway, I just think sometimes we need to breathe and remember, what is the point of these nutcrackers? Get outside of myself, connect my head and my heart, and remember, it's about the holiday experience. Don't freak out if a kid breaks an arm off a nutcracker, if one does that, or if the other one wants that nutcracker on a different shelf because that's where it was last year. I just love the role that a mother gets to play in this whole creating a cozy home and breathing and taking that pause to connect your mind and your heart. I love that.
There's so much power.
We have a nutcracker infirmary, basically. They are like shaved. They don't have their beards anymore, missing limbs, glitters everywhere. It's a whole scene.
We have a nativity, same thing, where the shepherd's arm is off and the baby Jesus is a little bit tattered and usually lost. And
I love in your book because it says, what are the assets of your home? We had moved them someplace else. And by the end of living there, there were definitely things that I missed, even though it was going to a new home that was in a better place and stuff. I missed the proximity to the park that we lived at. I loved the neighbors that we had. There were these elements of that house that I missed. And so then I took it upon myself to, in our new location, find things that were assets to that location and write them down and just keep those like, hey, if we were to move someplace else, I would miss these things. It's how the sink faces the street. For us, it was at Christmas. And I was like, hey, the kids' room is on this other side of the hallway. I can do the wrapping paper over the door so that Christmas morning they can jump through and stuff. That ended up being the highlight of the entire day. Not even the presents or anything else. They just wanted to do that every day. So just finding those little things that can make the impact that sometimes we neglect because we see square footage or we see this needs to be fixed and this needs to be fixed. And when am I going to be able to have time to do all that? And there's a lot that goes through our minds as we have our homes. And it's easy to just see it as projects and not reminisce of just what's going on there. I just really appreciate having you on. I'm like super excited.
You said that so beautifully. It reminds me of the Princess Bride Wesley when they're on that castle wall and he's mostly dead. And he's like, what are our assets? And they'd say a few things. And then he's like, what about a Holocaust cloak? And he pulls out a Holocaust cloak from his shirt. And he's like, why didn't you list that among our assets? That changes everything. When we open our eyes to the assets that are right in front of us, then we can make things magical in very custom ways, because every house is different. And we call it quirky sometimes or annoying at other times. But when we use those things and we decide to make them magical instead, those are the things that we'll miss. We're going to miss jumping over the second to last stair because it always squeaks and wakes up the baby. We're going to miss having to like sidestep through that weird doorway because you always hit your shoulder on it. Those are the things that you miss that make the stories. But in our daily lives, we dismiss as not being perfect. So I loved how you said that those assets are what can make a holiday experience, but just even a day-to-day experience, truly magical.
Thank you for sharing that. So I'm curious, in the third item that you shared, the fun or it doesn't happen mentality. I love that you say that because you're saying that you're a yellow personality. For those of us that are not yellows, and the fun or it doesn't happen, like I hear that and it makes my head kind of start to twitch a little bit. I don't know that I can incorporate that, Carly. So coach me through it. How can I try and incorporate that saying into my life when I'm more like we need to stick to the plan? That would be my mantra. So how do I change from that mindset of like, our tradition says we do this, so we do it, to fun or it doesn't happen? Coach me through that, because that's hard for me.
Totally. So a lot of us have different ideas. Of course, I love the fun. And to me, I don't even care what we're doing as long as it's fun. Like I would go help you weed your garden for hours as long as we had something stimulating to talk about. So for me, fun or it doesn't happen is what feels good to my body. To other people, it's structure. To other people, it's relationships and connection. To other people, it's beauty and making everything just look pristine. I have a sister-in-law who just loves parties, and it is like above and beyond all the parties. And she has bow wrapped napkin holders and goblets that only come out on New Year's Eve, all these things that just make her heart so happy. And for me, that stresses me out. I have no desire to have plate chargers in every color, like zero. And so that's not fun to me. So what I hear you saying is fun to you actually looks like having a schedule that feels manageable and that feels invigorating to you in some sort of way. But it doesn't have to be confetti and fun and high energy, but fun being that opt-in quality where what's fun to you is going to be different than what's fun to Carly, and what's fun to you, Carly, is going to be different than what's fun to me. But if you don't feel like it's fun, your flavor of fun, don't do it. It's like when you go to the ice cream shop and they're like, do you want to try mocha latte with caramel nuts? And you're like, no, I'm not going to eat ice cream if it's a gross flavor. Get the flavor you want and then eat it and love it.
I love that.
Okay, that's perfect. That exactly answers my question. And I totally get that, because when I go out to eat, they say, what do you want to drink? And I say Diet Coke, and they say, is Diet Pepsi okay? I say, no, definitely not.
Right?
It's is Monopoly money okay?
Exactly. So I like the what's your flavor of fun, because my fun definitely is structured, sticking with traditions and letting go a little bit, but leaving like 10% room for flexibility. But mostly I'm having the most fun when things go exactly according to plan. So I appreciate you saying that that's okay for me to still call that fun, even though it makes me maybe sound a little nerdy and specific.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yes, absolutely. I also want to challenge you a little bit, Courtney, because we're here. Why not?
Okay.
And that is getting into your body, because sometimes we stick to our schedules because we're committed to our kind of fun. And if you are in your body and you're like, structure feels delicious to me. I just love a schedule. I love knowing what's happening. I love having it booked out. I love all those things. Then that's a 100% yes. But if it's this anxious shoulding of ourselves, like the nails on the head, I have to hit all these traditions or else it's not Christmas, and it brings up our anxiety and Mama Bear comes out, not the good kind, then we can look at it twice and think, is that the kind of fun that you want? Or is there a way that you can do the things that you want in a fun way? You don't have to do, so we either do our traditions or we have fun. It's like, how do we do all the things that feel delicious in a delicious way? What do you think of that?
I think I can try and do that. I will say I don't have the best track record with calming myself down and being into that meditative space where you think through, what's that called? We did an episode about it, Carly, with Lindy, the mindfulness. What did she call it when you go from your head to your toes and you try and be mindful?
Take
and
inventory.
Like a body scan.
Body scan. That was it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Carly Thornock. Way to come into my
She
save.
knows.
So she talked about body scans. So actually 2 days ago, I tried to do this. We had a color dash for my kids' school. I'm on the PTA. And so we had this big event. And after the event, we were doing line dances and I was covered in color. So I got home, the kids were all in bed. My husband had put them to bed, but I got home so late. And so I just hopped in the bathtub and I thought, I'm going to do a body scan as I like just enjoy this bath. And I barely made it to my shoulders. And all of a sudden my brain went back to wobble baby, like the dance that we were doing at the thing. And then my brain started going, man, I heard from a couple parents, they weren't happy that we played that song at the elementary school. And so then my mind just like, I ended up somehow thinking about the next activity we're doing for our trunk or treat for the school. Suddenly I'm like, wait, I thought I was doing a body scan. How did I get here in my mind? And so I just taking that time to quiet your mind, which is the name of that episode. If any of you want to go listen to that, it was a really fun episode that we did where we talk about mindfulness. I don't have the best track record with it, but I'm going to work on it so that I can focus on being aware of if I'm just doing things because I'm used to structure or if it really does bring me joy. So I will work on that, Carly. It's take work.
Amazing.
I had to mute myself because I was laughing, seeing Courtney's face, knowing her so well and seeing her face like, but like, it is so true. We need to do things that are delicious. And funny story, my husband was like, hey, we're going to bring cookies to all of our neighbors. We've moved into this house and let's bring cookies to all of our neighbors. And I was stressed about something else. He's like, I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to get like, do we have stuff? And I'm like, yeah, we do. But I don't like to bake. I am not one of those people. I don't get joy in baking unless I'm like doing it for a party or like there's a specific reason, but then maybe cooking, not as much baking. So he's like, I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to get all the stuff. And I'm like, just get pre-made cookie dough. Just get the store-bought cookie dough, please. And he comes back and he brings bags of flour, bags of sugar, bags of everything, like everything, a whole thing of eggs, everything to make cookies. And I was just like, why do we have all of these things? We're on our way to church. My mind is breaking because I'm like, there's just so much stuff. How many cookies are we going to make? And he's like, not understanding. He's like, you don't have to worry. But I'm like, what do you mean I don't have to worry about it? It's in our kitchen. But then we get home and I stepped away and I was like, fine, you do it. I don't need to be a part of this. It does not bring me joy right now. And I am going to step away. And he did it and it was great. And he cleaned up afterwards. And so sometimes we like unnecessarily take on something and it's like, well, I did remove myself from it. It still happened. It still went well. I went and we delivered the cookies and that was great. It was actually just the right thing. And it was good for me to be able to actually step away and not be a martyr either and be like, I'm going to do this because it's my kitchen. That's not the case.
So good. In the research, we call this gatekeeping, where it's like we're boxing out our husbands or our community or whoever just to be like, I can do it. I'm the good mom. Good moms do stuff. You stay back. And it's actually damaging to relationships is what the research shows. So
good.
That's so great to be like, oh, here's a gate. Everyone's allowed to use the gate. And if you want to make cookies, y'all make cookies. And to know ourselves well enough to step back and be like, not my jam, but I love you. And here's how I can show you that I love you from my heart. That's not a chocolate chip cookie. I'm going to go take a bath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And fail at a body scan while you're at the bath.
and fail at a body scan. I tell you how many body scans I failed at. Usually do, but it's just that we do our best to ask our bodies. Oh, it's so good.
I just am loving you, Carly. You're adorable. I'm so glad you're joining our sisterhood. So what can you tell our sisterhood today that is a doable call to action that they can do to make their home this cozy home this week?
Okay, it's going to be a 10-minute call to action. So in the next 24 hours, I want you all to do this. I want you to think in your mind and check in with your heart about what feels fun to you. I'm going to call it fun, but what feels delicious to you. And then write it down. What are 5 adjectives? What are 5 things that represent this? So maybe it's nutcrackers everywhere. Maybe it's husband doing all the baking and you not doing any baking. Like maybe that's delicious. What are the things that feel delicious to you in the upcoming holidays? And then write down on a second column all the things you feel like you have to do because society demands it of you. or the expectations of the family are there. Things like neighborhood gifts, trick-or-treating, homemade costumes when we're trick-or-treating, and not just in a store-bought bag. You have to do a homemade felted bag. What are the rules of Halloween? What are the rules of Thanksgiving? What are the rules of family parties? What are the rules of Christmas? Write down all the rules. And then I want you to take a big fat red marker, and I want you to cross out all the things that do not match column 1. So if you go through and in your body, it's like, I hate that. I should do that. If your brain ever says I should do that, it crosses off. And I want you to be liberal in your crossing off. And then the ones that are left, I want you to circle and put little hearts around them. And I want you to just soak it in with the deliciousness that it is to you of, I just love sitting under my Christmas tree and listening to instrumental music while I look at the snow. Like that is what I'm doing. And I'm doing it 3 times. And that's the only thing. We're giving up all the parties. We're not doing any candy canes, whatever it is to you. Cross off the things that feel at all not fun and highlight the ones that do and commit to those.
Yay! I love all that so much. That sounds so magical. It really does. You're bringing out fun words in me like magical. I don't usually use that word.
Good.
It's delicious. Yeah.
Delicious. That's a word I don't say very often either, but I love hearing you say it. That's super fun.
I love this too, because I see Courtney's response and she's like, okay. She's excited by it, but you can tell she's like, okay, we're going to do this. There's this anticipation. I've been on board for a while. She's like learning too. And this is why it's so good to introduce some of our sisters who don't know these things. We can all learn and improve this feeling within us in our home, making it centered on us and how we as individuals love and live in our home. So
yes,
that's wonderful.
And you know what, as moms, what is delightful and delicious to us is what colors our children's experience in our home custom to us. So sometimes we think like we need to be exactly like everybody else. And there's good to that. There's some good that comes as the rising tide raising all ships in the world. But also your kids want you. Your kids don't want all the boxes checked. Your kids want like your knack for peanut brittle and how you just love it. And every time you get it, you stuff it under your pillow and you don't share it with anybody. And so they have to sneak in. And if they ever want some, they have to steal it. Like whatever it is, that's the fun story. This is what they want is you. So whatever is fun to you, you're not taking away from your children if you don't do everything. You are adding to your children when you can do what you do with delight.
That's so beautiful. What is the thing that you do, Carly? What's your flavor of fun for your holiday season? This is a special surprise question.
Nutmeg, hazelnut. What's your flavor?
I know, right? This year, it's been different than all other years because we don't have a home right now. We are in between homes. And so I'm really looking forward to like very minimalistic people, music, nature, quiet. And we've never really done that before. And now that we live farther away from our families than usual, we probably won't be going to all the things. We'll probably be using like popcorn garlands to decorate, but not even that because we live in the country and there's mice around. So we have to think about things completely differently. And I'm really looking forward to that this year, seeing what we have around and like feeling more of my holidays than trying to show it in my doings. It's going to be more of a human being holiday. I'm excited.
That's inspiring. I love it.
Carly, where can our sisterhood find you? We know that they have fallen in love with you during this interview.
If you guys have follow-up questions or if you have your heart racing about finding fun things and giving up traditions, I'm here for you. You can find me at carlythornock.com or on Instagram, Carly Thornock. I have just transitioned from being Intentional House. And so things are in a little bit of a limbo right now, which is fun. My podcast is Becoming Home, and that is the fun place that I love to hang out. So I'd love for you to come hang out with me there. And you can also pick up my book. It's called Intentional House by Month. You can get that on Amazon. It's full of tips and tricks for getting your family focused through the holiday season, but through all the seasons of the year and building a home that's truly built on the things that you find valuable.
That's so awesome. And right now, you actually have a special on your website that people can buy 20 minutes with you, right? It's called Cozy Up for Fall.
That's right.
$20 for 20 minutes, right?
That's right.
So if you just can't get enough of her, make sure you go take advantage of that. Because when I hear that, I'm like, I would pay $20 to have 20 more minutes with you. That's amazing. Carly, it has been such a pleasure to have you join us today. Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you. This is so fun. Let's do it again tomorrow, same time, same place.
Okay, excellent. We're down. I already have follow-up questions that I want to ask for sure. Let's reconnect. Sisters, we hope y'all have had as much fun and enjoyed today's call as much as we have with our new sister, Carly Thornock. We are so grateful for the time we get to spend with y'all each week, and we love connecting with you on social media as well. So please follow us on Instagram at the Hey Sister Podcast to connect with us as we continue conversations about today's episode online. Don't forget to apply this week's call to action that Carly invited us to do. Visualize what feels good to you ahead of the holidays. Look at your holiday traditions and expectations and shoulds and write them all out. From this place and feeling of good, decide which things on the list just don't feel good and cross them off boldly. Don't forget that she has encouraged us to do this within the next 24 hours. I love how quick of a turnaround that can be. Like, how amazing will we all feel 24 hours from right now if you do this? Please come back and join us next week as we continue this Feel Good Fall series with an episode all about the importance of spending time and laughing with friends. Not to spoil the surprise, but let's just say next week's comedic experts are great friends and nothing to JK about. We'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye, sisters.
Bye.
Bye.
Tell me, how long have you guys been doing this?
Almost a year.
What inspired you?
Courtney. Courtney texted me and she was like, do you want to do a podcast? I was like, yep, let's do it. And then, yeah.
Carly is the fun sister. I had been thinking about it for a while, but I knew that I would need a partner in crime. And we have a youngest sister too, and she's fun and joins us on occasional episodes. You might see her on our Instagram doing the Happy Pants dance every Friday. So she's our super yellow sister. Like,
She's the funnest. Yeah.